Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So, later on this evening I'm going off to watch the Champions League ties. I think I'm actually slightly more interested in this one, curiously, because I really can't figure out what's going to happen. Anyway, I did another video on that. This video is me looking at all the different leagues that are running at the moment and just basically catching up because we haven't done a results video and a little look at all the leagues, see who's informed, see who's in trouble for some time. So that's what we're going to do today, and I hope you enjoy the video. Let's go. So let's take a look first and foremost at the Premier League. We can see that Arsenal are still top, 3 points and a game in hand against Manchester City. Man United, who've played 2 more games than Arsenal, are 6 points behind. Newcastle still in the top 4. Tottenham Hotspur wibbling, wobbling around. They start to do well and then they lose again. Who did they lose against? Oh, it was 4-1 to Leicester City. Derby against West Ham up next. Newcastle have got Liverpool. They're on a bit of a, I want to say bad run, but they haven't lost. Liverpool are their bogey team though, so we'll see how that works out. Manchester City, oh gosh, I've got Arsenal next. Wow, okay, that's a big game. And the recent team of the week, Shaw, Eustepinian, Tim Ream. I think Tim Ream's played something like every single minute of the Premier League so far or something crazy. Alexander Arnold had a cracking game. Liverpool were apparently back to their best the other day against Everton. I need to watch the highlights of that match. March. Rodri, Maddison's back. Tony's doing brilliantly again. Iniacho. I watched the Leicester highlights. And Almiron. I watched Iniacho and he didn't score today, but he set up about 3 goals. It was incredible. And then just outside of the top 5, we got Brighton still, unbeaten in quite some time against Fulham, who are just below them, who have lost matches but have got some really decent ones. They beat Nottingham Forest 2-0. So Brighton and Fulham will be a bit of a, both of them being on 35 points as well. A little bit of a, if one of them, if they don't draw, for example, and one of them wins, then they've got Brighton and Hove Albion have got games in hand on the teams above them, so it could be a push for Europe for Brighton. Good luck to them. Brentford unbeaten in the last 5. Got Crystal Palace. Liverpool, just what is happening to them? But maybe they can re-kick their season now with that win. Really good win. Back to their sort of pressing best, I hear, in the article that I read, and then see if they can beat a high-flying Newcastle and dent their ambitions. Chelsea starting to get better luck. Win, draw. Big chance against Southampton to get a win and start to claw their way back up the table. Aston Villa, so it looks like Aston Villa have got the Arsenal-Man City match must be in sort of midweek then, I think, is it? I'm thinking it's on Amazon Prime, I think. So yeah, so they've got Arsenal, but they've lost their last 2. They were against Leicester and Man City, so nothing too bad about that. Crystal Palace haven't won in the last 5. They had a draw against Brighton, which is a good result. Brentford will be a tough London derby for them. Leicester have improved the last 3 games, draw with Brighton, then wins against Aston Villa and Tottenham, scoring 8 goals in the process. But Man United stands next. Nottingham Forest got Man City next. Ouch. They lost that game to Fulham. But other than that, they've done pretty well. Wolves started to improve. They've won 3 of the last 5, only lost 1, and that was against Man City. They've got a good chance to get further away from the relegation zone with Bournemouth next. West Ham not doing too badly for form, but Spurs, unpredictable Spurs. I can't tell you what's going to happen in that. Leeds have sacked their manager. They've got Everton next in what is a 6-pointer by the looks of it. And Everton, a slight improvement with that win over Arsenal, but is it going to be enough with a new manager going in? Bournemouth, I'm starting to suspect that they might be going down. Wolves next, and Southampton too. They look to be getting in. The just sacked Leeds manager. I wonder how that'll go for them. Obviously the next game is against Chelsea, as we said. Okay, so that's the deep dive into the Premier League. Let's have a quicker look at the Championship before we get onto the European leagues. So Burnley still top. Look at that run that they're on, 5 wins, but they're against Watford next to a 6th. Sheffield United just hammered my team of Swansea City 3-0. They've got Middlesbrough next to or just below them, so that's a big one. They're already 10 points ahead. Can they go 13 points ahead? Remember, in this division it's a bit weird. The top 2 go through to the Premier League automatically, and then there's a playoff for these. So then we've got in the playoff positions Middlesbrough, Luton having a fantastic season. Correct me if I'm wrong, Luton have never played in the Premier League. Neither have Millwall. Watford are a yo-yo team, so they'll be wanting to go back up. Middlesbrough are a Premier League team, but they haven't been there for a couple of years now. Sunderland having a cracking season back after being relegated 2 years ago down to the second, well, we call it Division 1, but it's the 3rd, technically. Blackburn have dropped away, not won in 4 games. West Brom, Norwich, Hull, who seem to be on quite decent form. Preston, Bristol, who are in very good form actually. They are in that run they drew with Swansea, I think. Oh, that was longer, that's further ago, okay. We were all over them, Swansea were, but we managed to, we couldn't, oh no, that was the cup. Coventry, then my beloved Swansea on a bit of a bad run. Terrible transfer window, shocking. Queen's Park Rangers, who have we got next by the way? Blackpool, is it? So we got Blackpool next, and we lost to Birmingham there. Oh god, that game was terrible. So my brother is a ticket holder, a season ticket holder, and he said that we dominated them, and then they scored 2 goals in the 90th and 97th minute. Anyway, Birmingham, Reading, Stoke, big club to be down that far. Very competitive division. Rotherham, Cardiff. Really worried about them going down. Wigan, Huddersfield, who have just appointed, what's his face? He's come out of ex-Cardiff managers just to come out of retirement. Neil Warnock. And Blackpool bottom, but they've got Swans next. Come on, Swansea. Okay, that's the Championship. Let's take a look at Serie A then, in Italia. So, champions-elect Napoli. This is not how well they've done. They have gone a lot longer, only 1 loss. I think I watched that loss, actually. It was a couple of games ago. Sassuolo's up next, so they should win that one quite easily. They are now 15, if my maths are correct, 15 points above Inter in second, who frustratingly drew 0-0 with Sampdoria. They've got Udinese next. Atalanta are back in the top 4, they've had a good run. Lecce next for them. Roma are on a decent run at the moment. That loss was to Napoli. Draw to Lecce, that's a bit of a shame. They got Verona next, who are in the relegation zone, I believe. Yes, they are. Milan had a bit of a poor run, 3 losses. Then they did manage a win against Torino 1-0. They got Monza next, who are on a good run of form themselves. Lazio, too many draws, and then the loss against Atalanta. Salernitana up next for them, but they had got themselves into the top 4. Maybe they can keep going. 39 points, they only need 1 win and they could be up to 3rd. Very very tight, very exciting race for the Champions League, although I think the horse has bolted when it comes to the champion. I really would love to see Napoli win the league. Torino in 7th, Udinese in 8th in the chasing pack, although they're 9 points away from Lazio, so it'll take a massive effort from them, and they are quite inconsistent. Juve, with those points deducted, not in bad form. The second got 2 wins on the bounce, up against relegation-threatened Spezia. Next, Monza, who are on a really good run, will test AC Milan. Bologna, not doing too badly, but lost to Monza. They've got Sampdoria next, Empoli. It's only 1 loss in the last 5, and that was to Roma. So I watched that match. They played okay, actually. They've got Fiorentina next, who just decided to just flump. They're doing so badly. The second, Lecce, with some good results in between some poor ones. So they're sort of typical mid-table. Fiorentina still in Europe, but I think that's hurting their form in the league. They've got Empoli next. They only managed 1 draw in the last 5, and that was against Lazio, curiously. Sassuolo in 15th. Not in terrible form, though, but good luck. You've got Napoli next. Salernitana not doing great. Lazio next. Spezia also managed to draw in the last match against Empoli, but Juve are coming next. Hellas Verona, however, have only lost 1 in the last 5. 17 points. A cheeky victory against Roma could see them get out of the relegation places. Sampdoria have drawn the last 2, but they've got... who's that? That is Bologna next. Bologna, unpredictable. Pretty decent side, though. And Cremonese are almost gone now with 8 points. Did manage a draw against... Cremonese against Bologna. Interesting. We'll see. Okay, so that is Serie A in Italy. Okay, let's take a look at La Liga in Spain, in España. Barcelona are running away with it now, 11 points, although Real Madrid do have a game in hand. Their last match being that embarrassing loss to Mallorca. Elche are next, and is that Cadiz, I think? Let me just check. Yeah, it is Cadiz. So Barcelona got Cadiz next. Real Sociedad, excitingly, are in the Champions League spot. They got Celta Vigo next. Only 1 loss in the last 5, and that was to Real Valladolid at home. Strange one. Atletico Madrid, have got Athletic Bilbao next. Doing a lot better. They'd dropped out of the top 4 for a little while, but doing a lot better now. Real Betis having a good season. They've got Valladolid next, and their form is a little inconsistent. Rayo Vallecano have come up to 6th. Wow. They've got the unpredictable Sevilla next, and Athletic Club. I support Athletic Club in the Spanish division. They have dropped recently, 3 losses on the bounce. 1 to Sociedad, their local rivals. 1 to Real Madrid, their national rivals. And then another to Celta Vigo, which is... they'd be upset about that. But then 2 wins. Cadiz and Valencia, who are themselves are in big trouble at the second. We'll come to that. Atletico Madrid are next, which is not ideal. Villarreal, not doing great. Mallorca up next for them. Osasuna with Real Madrid next. Mallorca with Valladolid next. Girona with Almeria next. Yes, there's no one with a lot of form at the second. Sevilla not doing too badly now after being in the relegation zone. Lost away to Girona and away to Barcelona. I hear one of you told me in a comment they didn't even bother attacking. But then they beat Mallorca in the last match. And Rayo Vallecano are in 6th, they're up next. Valladolid on a good little run at the second, but they've got Betis. We'll see how they do. Celta Vigo, they've got 2 wins in the last 5. They're against 3rd place Almería in 15th, Cádiz in 16th, Espanyol, big club, down in 17th, but they have been relegated recently. But wow, look at that. Valencia in 18th, Getafe in 19th, and then Elche down in 20th. Valencia, absolute disgrace. I was reading about the ownership and the lack of investment in the players, and yeah, it sounds just like what's happening at Swansea. So I feel you, and absolute disgrace. That's such a massive club. Bearing in mind that I grew up supporting, watching Spanish football and the Champions League, and thinking of Valencia as a team that won the league and got to Champions League finals. Absolute disgrace that they might get relegated. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it encourages the owner to sell up, then maybe move down a division, get a new board and a new owner in, and then work your way back up. Maybe that's what they need if they're saved. Unfortunately, maybe they'll not manage to get rid of their terrible owner. Okay, rant over. Ligue 1 en France. Paris Saint-Germain not having a great time of it at the second. They lost to Monaco, who are flying up the league at the second, really good form. They lost to them because they didn't have Messi or Mbappe playing. And Marseille are in second. They did lose recently to Nice. We'll come to Nice in a second. I've been watching every single one of their games since the turn of the year, and I am so impressed with them. They've got, I believe it's Toulouse next, who themselves had a really good result against Rennes on the weekend, which I watched. Okay, so next up, Monaco, who have got Stade Rennais, Stade en Brest, excuse me. They're on a fantastic result, a run of results. They beat PSG. Sorry, who was that? Clermont. Auxerre drew with Marseille, who were just above them, and hammered Ajaccio. Lens. They've dropped off a little bit, unfortunately. They're up against Nantes next. Lille are doing really well. They managed to beat Rennes in Brittany the other day. They were losing as well, so they came back to score 3 goals. They've got PSG next though, so that win against Strasbourg meant that they haven't lost in 4. They're going to need a bit of luck to get through that game. And that brings us on to Rennes and Nice. These are the 2 teams that I'm supporting this year because Rennes have got Joe Rodon, the Welshman, playing for them, and Nice have got Aaron Ramsey, and they are on fantastic form, but they have got, now I always pronounce this one, I can't pronounce, Rennes. I want to say, I've heard some people say Rennes. I think Rennes might be right. Next, who I've got a little story of their own. I'll come to that in a second. So, 4 wins on the bounce and a draw, and there was a win before that as well. So, they're looking really good at the second, and it's quite exciting. I think they're going to they're only 4 points from 5th place. If Lens keep dropping off, they could sneak into the European spots after languishing down in 11th, 12th for most of the season. Lorient are in 8th. They've got Ajaccio. I can't say it. Ajaccio. I'm going to say Ajaccio, which is in the local dialect. Lyon just having a very mixed bag. Good run at the second, but 35 points, is it too late for them? They're only 2 points behind Nice, though. Then you've got, I'm going to say Rennes. So they are on this magnificent form. One of you in the comments section put me onto it the other day. I think I might do a whole video on it. But basically, as far as I can work out, they gave the job to this Englishman who was brought up in Belgium, who basically got the job, and his CV is, I played Football Manager, and he's doing an insane job. So, is he going to get the job? He's interim at the second, and they've got Balogun playing on loan from Arsenal, right? And he is like the 3rd highest scorer in Europe, behind, oh gosh, I want to say Haaland and like, I don't know, Kane or something. Yeah, he's doing an insane job anyway. It's very, very interesting and exciting. Toulouse in 11th, only lost one in the last 5, which was against PSG, and it was a narrow defeat as well. I watched them play on the weekend, they looked really good. Clermont in 12th, Nantes down at 13th, they're still in Europe, and people have said that it's distracted them from the league. Montpellier in 14th, Brest in 15th, and Troyes on a really bad run in 16th. Then you've got Strasbourg, who have Angers next, who are bottom of the league. Ajaccio in 18th, Auxerre, who've got 2 draws, but against Lyon next in 19th, and Angers 2 draws, but they got Strasbourg, which is a winnable result for them. But even if they did win, they wouldn't move off the bottom, so they're having a tough time. Also, they sold their best player to Marseille, so yeah, it's a tricky. I think they're already preparing for the drop. I was going to say something, I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, there's 4 teams going down. I've mentioned this before because the league is going to be 18, so there are only 2 teams coming up, but 4 going down. So they're reducing the size of the league to reduce matches in France. Drop me a comment, do you think it's a good idea? Should the Premier League do it? What do you think? Okay, we got the Bundesliga then next. Bayern Munich are at the top. They've got back into better form, but they had 3 draws in a row. One against Frankfurt, Cologne, and Leipzig. Union Berlin only a point behind, still hanging on 5 wins. And they've got lowly Schalke next. So that's a very winnable result, winnable game. Borussia Dortmund are now formally coming for the title, 40 points and 5 wins. Hertha Berlin are next, who are also struggling. Very winnable. Freiburg are hanging around. You can't get rid of them this season. They're doing brilliantly, overachieving, and they've got Bochum next. Leipzig will be devastated if they don't qualify for the Champions League. They are within touching distance though. Wolfsburg up next for them, which is a tough one. And they lost their last match, and that was to Union Berlin. Frankfurt are in 6th place. They lost their last match to Cologne 3-0. Wow, they're coming back then. But they've got Werder Bremen next. So Bayer Leverkusen is finally out of the relegation zone. 3 wins in the last 5, 2 losses, 1 to Borussia Dortmund. No shame in that. The other to Augsburg. And they've got Mainz next. Then you got Werder Bremen, Borussia Mönchengladbach, who've got Bayern next. Cologne, who haven't lost in the last 5, including a win against Frankfurt, 3-0. I've got Stuttgart, who themselves are having a terrible time. Mainz, Augsburg, Hoffenheim, without a win in 5. Then Bochum, and then we got the relegation zone 3 massive clubs in Germany. Hertha Berlin, who've got Dortmund next. Stuttgart, who've got Cologne next, and Schalke, who've got Union Berlin next, so don't expect them to move around this weekend. But absolute shocker if these 3 clubs were the ones to go down. Okay, let's look at the Eredivisie in Nederland. So we got Feyenoord at the top still, not destroying everyone in their wake, but not lost in 5 either. They've got 46 points, so they are not too far ahead of Alkmaar, who, let's face it, it would be a bit of a shock if either of those teams grappled the title away from Ajax or Eindhoven. So it's quite an exciting season. Ajax are getting back into some measure of form, but they're on 43 points. They could still, they're only 3 points away, so it's doable. I read about all the things that were happening behind the scenes and the managerial merry-go-round and Van der Sar being involved and stuff. But on the pitch it seems to be going okay. Wins against Excelsior, Cambuur and Waalwijk. Then Eindhoven. They're up against Utrecht next. They've got 42 points, so they're not out of it. Remember, in the Netherlands, top goes the Champions League, second is the playoff for the Champions League, so they could get someone like, oh goodness, Spurs, or who would it be? Monaco, for example, in France, or someone like Roma in Italy. So a really, really tough shout to get into the Champions League in second place. And then the rest then would go more or less into, I think, third could go into the Europa League and the rest into the Conference League. Twente, Rotterdam and Utrecht make up those spots. Heerenveen in pretty bad form. There's a gap of 6 points between the chasing pack for Europe. Waalwijk, Fortuna, Sittard, Nijmegen, Vitesse, who are on okay form actually. Go Ahead Eagles. I think, did they have something? Were they a feeder club for Swansea at one point? Excelsior, Volendam, and then Emer, Cambuur and Groningen in the bottom three. Such a shame, Groningen with, so much history that they might go down, but they got 13 points, 4 away from safety, and only 1 draw in their last 5. It was against Twente though, so not bad. Okay, and then let's take a look at Portugal. I'm going to speed up a little bit. So Benfica, not in as good form as Porto, but they've got a 5-point buffer, which is good for them. Then you've got Braga still keeping Sporting out of the Champions League spots. Vitória de Guimarães has come into 5th position. Calabria were in the Champions League spots for a while, but they've dropped away a little bit now, unfortunately. Then Arouca, Chaves, Boavista, Vizela, Rio Ave, Portimonense, Estoril, Gil Vicente, Famalicão down there. Wow, that's terrible for them. Santa Clara in the relegation zone. Marítimo and Passos de Ferreira in bottom spot. Wow, it's a bit of a shocker. Some big teams around Europe are going to be relegated this year. Okay, let's head next. So the Allsvenskan has not restarted, am I right? Correct. So we'll skip that one for a while and we'll look at Denmark. So, yes, Nordsjælland are still top and Viborg are second. It's still tight, it's a bit of a race between those two. Copenhagen have flown up from nowhere with an unbeaten streak. Last time I checked, oh no, I'm getting them mixed up with Midtjylland, but I don't think they were doing that well. So I think they just got Larsen from Schalke, so hopefully he's been doing quite well for you guys. Silkeborg are in 4th, Odense in 5th and Randers in 6th. Midtjylland still having a very disappointing season, can't seem to just get those wins in. Only a point, but has the league split yet? Probably not. Nearly though, it's not far away, is it? 12, 24, 23, so it's probably about 5 games away from splitting. Aarhus also down the bottom, Horsens, Brøndby, massive club, Aalborg and Lyngby. Shocker. Actually, let's probably say Sabi, Nuam and Sigurdsson. Okay. It's a quick dive into that league. Let's have a look then. Did I miss Belgium? Yeah, I did. Belgium, Genk are top, but they lost their last match to Royal Antwerp. Union Saint-Gilloise are second. Wow, that is an amazing season they're having, not just in Europe. Antwerp are third. Brugge, surprisingly, are down in 4th. Can't seem to get consecutive wins. Gent are in 5th. Liège in 6th. Westerlo in 7th. And Cercle Bruges having a decent season for their standards in 8th. They got the derby though in the next match. St. Truide, Anderlecht in 10th, Leuven, Charleroi, Mechelen, Eupen, Kortrijk. And then down the bottom, Zulte Waregem, Oostende and Sereng. Okie dokie. Let's take a look at Turkey. So, because of the earthquake, matches have been cancelled. But currently it stands as Galatasaray, the classic champions of Turkey, are having a really good season, back on form, 5 wins out of 5. And they got Konyaspor next, but I'm not sure when that match is going to be played. Fenerbahce are in 2nd, and Istanbul Başakşehir are in 3rd. Galatasaray have got some work to do if they get into Europe next year, because they need to win back the Champions League spots. Currently only 1 space in Turkey, which is shocking when you consider how many big clubs they have. Beşiktaş in 4th, Demirspor, Trabzonspor, Kayserispor and Konyaspor make up the top 8. Karagümrük, Alanyaspor, Gaziantep and Sivasspor. And then the next lot, Antalyaspor, Hatayspor, Ankaragücü, and in the bottom, Kasımpaşa, bit of a shock, they're a big club, Giresunspor. Sorry, frog in my throat. Giresunspor, Istanbulspor, one of the smaller Istanbul sides, and we've got Beşiktaş next, but they've won their last 2. And Ümraniyeспor down the bottom, 14 points. Oh, I think it's over for them. Okay. And I think that might... the Russian League. So, Zenit are still top, but my lovely Spartak Moscow are in 2nd, in really good form, haven't lost in a while. Beat Lokomotiv in the derby on the weekend 2-1. They've got Ural next. Zenit actually lost a match. Who they lose to? Ahmat. Really? Ahmat are having a good season. They're usually relegation fodder. Rostov in 3rd. Dinamo in 4th. CSK in 5th. Ahmat Grozny in 6th. Orenburg in 7th. Wow, they're having a good season. Krasnodar down in 8th. Usually a Champions League side. Sochi 9th, also usually much higher. Ural 10th, Krele Sovetov Samara in 11th. They've just come up, so they'll be chuffed with that. Nizhny Novgorod in 12th. Oh my goodness, I did not know this was happening. Fakel in 13th, Lokomotiv Moscow in 14th. That is a shocker. Khimki in the automatic relegation spots with Tarbieta Moscow. Wow, I cannot believe that Lokomotiv are done there. That is terrible. Obviously lost to Spartak in the last match. CSKA, Dinamo, yeah, it's a tough league. Basically, try and beat all the sides from Moscow. Wow, that is incredible. Very interesting. I put the Ekstraklasa. Just have a quick cheeky look at Poland. Oh wow, Raków, Częstochowa are in 1st place. I've never even heard of them. They are doing brilliantly. 46 points, they are 6 points clear at the top of Legia Warszawa, Lech Poznan, Witzył, Lodz, and then Pogoń, Cracovia, Wisła Płock. I've heard of these teams. Lechia Gdańsk, and then down the bottom, Zagłębie, Lubin, Koronia Kielce, and Miedź Legnica. Wow, we could have a shock champion. I love a shock. Who's next? Oh, Scotland. So, Celtic are top, and Rangers are 2nd. There's a 9-point gap. Celtic have got Aberdeen next. Rangers have got Livingston. By the looks of it, are second on the same points. 1 point away, Linfield, wow. And only a couple of points away, Crusaders. Glentoran makes it the top 6, and down the bottom, Portadown. Wow, oh gosh, 11 points from safety, that's nasty. Bit of an exciting photo finish there in Northern Ireland. And then lovely Wales. So TNS dominate our league, they are our Bayern Munich. So they lost their last match to Cardiff Met University, which I believe is a permanently non-professional club. They're basically aligned with the university, and it's I think TNS the only professional club in our league at the minute, but the Wales FA have got lots of plans with the money that they got from the World Cup. Lovely to see Bridgend Penabont in 4th, where I used to I've got lots of connections with Bridgend. Bala and Newtown make the top 6, along with Connors Key, who are chasing but 15 points away. European spot, however. Lovely Carnarvon in the relegation. They have split already by the looks. Carnarvon in the top of the relegation group, which does get you a chance for a playoff. As a reward, Haverfordwest, Flinttown, Pontypridd, and then Aberystwyth and Airbus. Airbus still on -2 after their points reduction. But Aberystwyth, I'd be devastated to see go down. Such a wonderful town. And then I think all these North American leagues haven't started back yet, have they? Has the Mexican league started back? Oh yes, it has. Monterrey are top. Tigres are second. Pachuca. There's only 6 games played, but Monterrey have got some excellent form already. Club America, Toluca, Juarez, the usual suspects. Guadalajara in 7th, who's an early loser at the moment. Udia, Mazatlan, Cruz Azul. Oh no, that is shocking for such a massive club. Querétaro, Necaxa, Puebla, Tijuana, Atlas, León. Club Universidad Nacional, Santos Laguna, Atlético de San Luis. Okay. And let's very briefly, I added the Saudi Arabian League so you can check on Ronaldo. So Shabab have gone top, but Al-Nassr have got 2 games in hand. So they are in second, that's Ronaldo's club. And they beat Al-Wahd 4-0 on the weekend. If I click that, can I see the result? See how the big man did? Oh gosh. He had an alright game, didn't he? He scored 4. And I think with that, in doing so, he broke some record, didn't he? I think he's got something like... Oh, what is it? Someone tell me in the comments. Is it like 503 goals now or something? Something obscene. So yeah, he's doing okay. Al-Ittihad in 3rd and Al-Hilal, classic champions, down in 4th, but they took a break to go to to get into the final, only to lose 5-2, 5-3 against Real Madrid. So they did really well, and they've got 3 games in hand. They're in 4th, and in this division you get 3 Champions League spots, and the 4th is Champions League only if the cup winner is in the top 3, because the cup winners, there is no sort of second UEFA Cup or Europa League or anything, so all of them, even the cup winner, goes to the Champions League in Asia. So Al Hilal will have to either move